everyone, it's Jennifer from Flux. In this video, we're going to learn how to crochet this pretty little corner to corner granny square. This is started at the bottom point and we're going to work upward and increase, and then later on we're going to decrease and finish off our square at the top. And so this makes, depending on how you hold it, if you hold it as a diamond shape, it makes this nice stripe pattern. If you hold it on its side, it's a nice diagonal. So this would be fun for a blanket. You can use it for a dishcloth or something like that. So let's get started. For this tutorial, we're going to be using the Bernat Maker Home Deck yarn. This is the Woodberry, in case you're wondering, and a 6.5mm K crochet hook. So the first thing we want to do is put a slip knot on our hook. So I'm just going to get a little bit of yarn off this. If you like this yarn, check out my Boardwalk Breeze blanket. It's a nice, soft kind of t-shirt feeling yarn. Wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop. Bring the yarn behind the loop, reach in with your hook, bring up a loop, and tighten. The next thing we want to do is chain 6. To make a chain, wrap yarn around hook and bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So here is our starting chain. Now we're going to work a slip stitch into the chain farthest from our hook to create a ring. So insert the hook into that chain farthest from the hook, bring up a loop. Now bring that loop through the loop that's already on your hook. I'm just going to zoom in a little tiny bit more so you can see better. Then what we're going to do is chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then what we're going to do is work 3 double crochets into the center of this ring. So to make a double crochet, wrap yarn around hook, insert the hook into the center of the ring, bring up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops. That's a double crochet, and you can kind of scoot things over a bit if you need to. But we're going to work a total of 3. So that was 1 and 2 and 3. Just like that. Then we're going to chain 1 and we're going to work another double crochet into the center of the ring. Okay, this is going to be considered the increase portion of our project. Let's move on to row 2. For row 2, we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to turn our work. So remember this tail from earlier? That's going to be pointing towards you now. So what we'll do now is work in this first, remember this chain 1 space that we created? We're going to work 3 double crochet, 1, 2, I'm going to get a little bit more yarn here. My yarn ball's sneaking up on me. So that was 1, 2, and 3. Then we're going to chain 1. Then we're going to kind of hop over this grouping. Remember those 3 double crochets we did? We're going to kind of skip over them and go to this other space on the other side. And we're going to work 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, and then scoot things over as needed. Then a chain 1 and then another double crochet to finish off that row. Okay? So we're starting to get what appears to be kind of a little triangle shape. Let's move on to row 3. Row 3 is going to be the row that you'll repeat over and over and over again to get it increased as much as you want. This is a very customizable square. So for row 3, let's do that together. We're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then turn our work. When we turn, just make sure that little tail is pointing towards you. I like to not snip that off too early because it really helps me kind of position myself and know where to turn. It helps me out a lot. So you might want to wait to trim yours as well. Then what we're going to do, remember that first chain space, once again, we're going to work 3 double crochets into that chain 1 space. So 1, 2, 3, and then let me get a little bit more yarn, and then chain 1 in that chain 1 space. Then we're going to hop over to the next chain 1 space, which happens to be the middle one. Now as you add more rows, you'll have more of those middle spaces in your little triangle. So we're going to hop over to this next chain 1 space here, and we're going to work 3 double crochet, 1, 2, and 3. Then we're going to chain 1, and you'll do that in each chain 1 space across. Again, as we add more rows, there'll be more of those chain 1 spaces in the middle of your rows. Okay, now what we're going to do is go to this last chain 1 space of the row, and we're going to work 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, slide that over, chain 1, and then work a double crochet. Let's go ahead and repeat row 3 over again together. So go ahead and chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn your work. Remember that tail is going to be facing you once again. So once again in that chain 1 space, we're going to work 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to chain 1. Then we're going to hop over to the next chain 1 space. And if you notice, like I mentioned before, there's 2 this time. So the next row would have 3 and the next row would have 4. So you're going to be getting a new space in each row as you add more and more rows. So hop over to that next chain 1 space, and then we're going to do the same thing. Work 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, hop over to that next chain 1 space, and we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to get a little bit more yarn. 1, 2, 3, chain 1. Now hop over to that last chain 1 space, or that where their turning chain is rather, that last space of the row, and we're going to work 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, and then chain 1, and then 1 more double crochet in that same space. Okay, so let me just move my hook so you can see here. Now you might need to kind of shape it up, get that right angle nice and sharp, but right now we have half of a square if you were to cut it from corner to corner. So what we want to do now, you can start decreasing if you want. I'm going to add 2 more rows onto mine just to give it a little bit more size. But what you want to do before you start decreasing is you want to make sure that your total number of rows is an even number. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. We could totally start decreasing right now. If we had 5 rows or 3 rows, then we would want to either add a row on there or subtract a row, obviously. So what we want to do, I'm going to add a few more rows just so you can see what it looks like when it's a little bit bigger, but you could totally just start decreasing next. But we're going to add a little bit more length onto ours and then come in. So I went ahead and made this a little bit bigger. Now we have a total of 6 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, you want to stick with that even number of rows before you start your decrease. The decrease is super easy also. What you want to do, now also before we proceed, I wanted to tell you that if you want to keep adding more rows, definitely feel free to do that. Just make sure you have an even number of rows before you decrease. So for row 1 of our decrease, we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn your work. Again, make sure that little tail is facing you. And then remember that first space that we were adding stitches to? We're going to skip that this time. And we're just going to put our stitches in that next space. So hop over to that next space and you're going to work 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, chain 1. Hop over to the next chain 1 space and we're going to do the same thing. 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, grab a little more yarn here. Whoops. Chain 1. Hop over to the next space. 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3. Chain 1. Hop over to the next space. 3 double crochet rather. 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and then that last space that you come to, 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, chain 1. To finish off the row, instead of working into that space like we've been doing, you're just going to work 1 double crochet into that topmost chain of that turning chain. So right there at the tippy top there, work a double crochet. Make sure when you insert your hook that you have 2 loops on the hook like that. Can you see that? Work your double crochet in that topmost chain. And if we remove our hook, we can start to see. You might need to straighten things out a little bit. Whenever you're increasing and decreasing, it's always a good idea to sort of straighten things up, tidy things up. You can start to see that it's sort of, actually let me zoom out so you can see better. It's starting to sort of round its way in. So what you're going to do at this point, now you can back up the video as many times as you need to, but you're just going to be repeating that same row we just did, row 1 of the decrease, over and over and over until you just have a point at the top. So I'm going to add a few more rows to mine. And then once we start we're approaching that top point, we will rejoin and I'm going to show you how to kind of finish it up, how to finish that last little bit of the tippy top, and then we'll finish up our square. So we're just about done our square. I worked a few more rows and now we just have one of these center spaces to work. So let's do this last little row together. So what you're going to do once again is chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, turn. And in that, remember we skipped that first space, and in the next space what we're going to do is work a 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, then chain 1, and then in that last space, remember we're going to work just a double crochet in the top chain of that turning chain. And now we have our endmost point here. So grab your scissors when you're finished your square and snip. And then what we're going to do is wrap the yarn around the hook and bring it through the loop. And you can kind of straighten your square out a little bit. You can see our little granny stripes are on an angle here. And then we're just going to weave these 2 sides in together. Okay, so we're going to go in and weave those in. Now this square is reversible, so try to go in the centermost parts of these loops here and try to get your tail as disguised as possible. So just bring that tail through, and you can give it a little snip. And again, because we crocheted this at an angle, we're going to have to do a little bit of shaping up with our hands here. Okay, so, and you'll have your other tail from where you began. You can just go right in there with your tapestry needle and weave that end in as well. Now, once you've mastered the corner to corner granny square, I think I mentioned this earlier in the video, I have a full-size blanket where I used some cake yarn and made a big corner to corner granny blanket. So if you'd like to check out that pattern, I have a full video tutorial and pattern on that as well. So check out that project. It is called the, it's called the Fluffy Granny Corner to Corner Blanket. And there's a full video and a pattern on that. So that is how you crochet a corner to corner granny square. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again.